Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria and today we are going to talk about the astrology for the full moon in Libra happening on 16th April 2022. But before we begin, I request you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I post a video. And on my channel, I post weekly horoscopes, new moon horoscopes and full moon horoscopes, and you can watch those if you are interested. So let's get started, and for this video I'm just going to talk about the astrology for the full moon, and then towards the end of the video I will pull a few cards for the moon's energies. So let's get started. Now, a full moon is when the sun and the moon oppose each other, right? 180-degree angle, and in this case the moon is in the sign of Libra. That makes a full moon in Libra, and full moons, generally speaking, bring completions, culminations, endings. They're a point of emotional release, right? So this moon will bring with it all these things, as does every full moon. But this is happening in the sign of Libra, right? So Libra is a sign that is associated with relationships in a very powerful way. Libra is also a sign associated with finding balance. In Libra, we weigh things out, pros, cons, what's working, what's not working. That sort of weighing things out to figure out what's the best way, right? So it's also about trying to balance things, trying to weigh the pros and cons. Libra is a very diplomatic sign, right? It's associated with relationships, so it's quite diplomatic in that sense. Libra is also associated with art and beauty because it's a Venus ruled energy, right? So this full moon will touch upon all these themes associated with Libra, and relationships are really highlighted on this full moon. Now, these could be relationships of marriage or business partnerships, things like that, right? Libra is also the sign associated with legal issues, regulations, things like that. So those might be highlighted as well with this full moon. And these are the basic themes. Now, if you can see on the chart, this moon is happening at 26 degrees, right? So for your personal charts, if you are familiar with your chart, then you can look for 26 degrees of Libra, and that's where this energy is coming in for you. So it's happening at 26 degrees of Libra. And let's talk about the aspects now. Now, for the past month or so, we've had slightly complicated moons, right? The full moon in Virgo was not a very straightforward one. It was making a lot of aspects. Then the new moon in Aries also was with Chiron. But this moon is making one really important aspect, and that's a square to Pluto, right? 90-degree angle with the moon. So it's in a square to Pluto, and Pluto is the planet of catharsis and healing and endings and beginnings. Pluto is spiritual transformations. Pluto is about facing the dark and finding the light, right? With Pluto, we find the light once we face the dark. So that's Pluto. Pluto also deals with, really digging deep beneath the surface, looking for hidden things, looking for hidden information, and it brings all these things to the surface. Whatever is hidden, whatever is taboo, Pluto will reveal it. So that's Pluto energy, and Pluto energy usually feels quite intense, right? And this moon is in a square to Pluto, and what that means is that transformation, healing, catharsis, endings, beginnings, emotional release are extremely highlighted. So is uncovering some information or, figuring things out, because Pluto rules the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio is all about going to the bottom, right? Bottom of anything, be it a subject, be it anything else. So that's what Pluto energy is. So we may be really figuring things out in our lives. That's what Pluto can do as well, dig so deep that we have realization or we figure things out. So that is extremely important on this full moon, and this moon right here is in the sign of Libra, right? So what that means is that the transformation, the catharsis, the healing, the information, the figuring out process, digging really deep, can be associated with Libra things, can be associated with relationships, can be associated with legal things, legal issues, partnerships, right? Beauty, art, trying to find balance. Maybe we've been soul searching, for something in our lives, and Pluto helps us find some answers, and after which we can find some balance, right? So Pluto is generally considered a heavy energy, and it is not the easiest energy, I'm going to be honest, but Pluto is the planet that helps us grow. It helps us transform. And often when we need to grow and change and transform, right, that requires a little bit of challenge or getting out of your comfort zone. So Pluto might do that, but usually it ends up in transformation, in catharsis, in healing. So that is the most important aspect this moon is making. Now let's talk about the next important aspect, and this is also happening. The moon here is in a trine, 120-degree angle with Saturn. Now, this is a positive aspect, and Saturn is the planet of decisions and hard work and discipline and commitment, right? Saturn says, hey, when are you going to commit to this thing or this person or whatever it is, right? So Saturn brings about this seriousness, it brings about this commitment, it brings about this, okay, what are you in for the long run? Are you in this relationship for the long run? Are you in this project for the long run? So it brings with it commitments and decisions and setting things in stone, right? That's what Saturn does. And it's making a positive aspect with the moon. And in the sign of Libra, what this could mean is that maybe we reach more clarity, decide something, or commit to something associated with Libra, associated with relationships, associated with perhaps maybe a business partnerships, or we decide something when it comes to legal issues or regulations or wherever 26 degrees of Libra is in your particular chart. So it can bring about this commitment, decision, definition, setting things in stone, and often the decision or commitment usually comes with clarity, right? So Saturn can do that as well. And perhaps what could happen is that because we dig deep, Pluto, because we transform in some ways or heal in some ways, that enables us to make that decision, make that commitment, set things in stone, or just work hard, right? Maybe you've had some clarity with Pluto. Maybe you've soul searched a little bit and you've found something within yourself, and that enables you to work hard, Saturn. And usually Saturn can bring with it restrictions and limitations, but this is a positive aspect, right? So I don't feel the restrictions and limitations will be there as much, because it's a positive aspect, right? And speaking of Saturn and restrictions and limitations, we have been in the energy of Saturn squaring the nodes for the past 3-4 weeks, right? And Saturn squared the nodes exact on Monday, right? April 11th. So we were feeling some sort of restriction and limitation, I would say, but now it's easing off because the exact square, Saturn squaring the nodes, this exact square happened on Monday, and now it's easing off, right? So even that feeling of maybe feeling slightly restricted or limited is easing off. So those are the two important aspects, right? A square to Pluto, a trine to Saturn. And there are other things going on as well on this full moon that I'd like to touch upon. And before we get there, Saturn here is still, you can say, in a square to the nodes, but like I said, it squared the nodes exact on Monday, April 11th. So now it's easing off. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Now these are things that are happening, not, they're not aspecting the moon as such, but they are happening. So let's talk about that. The first is that Mercury and Uranus right here are about to meet up, right? Mercury is at 11, Uranus is at 13. Now, Mercury is the planet of our logical mind. It's the planet of communication. It is associated with numerous things in our lives, right? What we eat, what time we wake up, our routine, our day-to-day, our health, our job, how we put the furniture in our home, in our office, all that sort of stuff is Mercury. Who we interact with, what we write, what we say, what we hear, all that is Mercury, right? So Mercury is a lot of things, and it is conjuncting the planet of awakening. Uranus is an awakener. It will awaken you. And Uranus is also the planet that brings sudden changes, unexpected changes. It brings insights, epiphanies, and realizations, right? Uranus is the planet that says, hey, be your authentic self. You have to be your unique, authentic self. So that's Uranus. And when these two meet up, Uranus is also the higher octave of Mercury. So when they meet up, right, this can lead to sudden, unexpected changes to Mercury things. And Mercury is a lot of things, perhaps to our diet, lifestyle, routine, job, how we put things in our office or home. Maybe some communication can come about suddenly and unexpectedly, or a realization or an insight, right? So that any of these things can happen. Sudden changes, unexpected changes, insights, epiphanies, realizations, sudden communication can come about. So that's also possible on this full moon, right? Because Mercury and Uranus are so close. Now, the last thing, the second last thing that I want to talk about is the fact that Venus here is in a sextile with Uranus as well, right? It's in a sextile with Mercury and Uranus. It's a positive aspect, and it's not exact yet. It will be. And what this can mean is that we might realize things, or we might make changes to Venus, and Venus rules the sign of Libra, right? Venus rules Libra, and the full moon is in Libra, and Uranus is aspecting Venus. So perhaps this might lead to a sudden realization or a change to Venus, to our projects, relationships, self-worth, values, skills, how we feel about ourselves, how we look, our appearances even. So that is also a possibility. But this is a positive aspect. It's not going to feel challenging, whatever this change is. If there is something that can feel challenging, it's the square to Pluto, right? So what that means to me is the most challenging part of this moon might be the fact that we need to dig really deep. We might need to heal. We might need to release emotions. We might need to, do a little bit of soul searching to be able to decide, make commitments, Saturn, to be able to make changes to Venus things, to our projects, relationships, etc. And since Mercury is so close to Uranus, epiphanies, insights, realizations can really happen, easing that process of soul searching with Pluto. And the last thing, yes, this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about, is the fact that a few days before we had this conjunction, right? This is the most important event, I would say, of this year, or one of the most important events of this year, is the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, and that happened on April 12th, so 4 days before this full moon. And this conjunction is a rare one. It happens once in about 13 years. The last time it happened was 2009 in the sign of Aquarius. And the next time it will happen will be 2035. So it's not a very common thing to go through. So let's talk about what this conjunction might mean, because this energy of the conjunction is very fresh and it will be with us on this full moon. And Neptune is the planet of spirituality. It's the planet that helps us connect with the higher realms, right? Uranus is more like it awakens you. It just awakens you. And Neptune is that connection. Is that connection you have with the other realms, with the divine, with the higher realms. Neptune is also a very creative energy. It's the higher octave of Venus, right? So Neptune is associated with creative things and poetry and design and all these sort of Neptunian things, right? I can't even think of all the creative things right now. Art, music, all that can be associated with Neptune. It's a very, very creative energy. So Neptune is a lot of other things as well, but primarily it's associated with being spiritual, that connection with the higher realms, and creativity. The dark side of Neptune, however, can manifest as confusion. So just be mindful of that. And Jupiter is a benefic, it's a magnifier, and it gives gifts, blessings, rewards, and brings lessons. And Neptune rules Pisces. Jupiter used to rule Pisces, and this conjunction is in Pisces. So Pisces is really magnified. And Pisces is associated with spirituality, creativity, universal love and compassion. Like I said, a little bit of confusion can also happen in the sign of Pisces. It's all these things. So this conjunction starts a new 13-year cycle with creative things, with spiritual things. We may find a new way to express our creativity, express our spirituality, right? It can start new art forms, it can do that sort of stuff. So as a collective, right, it's a new 13-year cycle with spiritual things and creative things. Neptune is also confusion. Neptune is also associated with alcohol and addiction, and any kind of addiction can be associated with Neptune, right? Escapism is also a Neptune thing. But Jupiter usually brings with it positivity, right? It brings with it positivity. But I just wanted to mention the dark side of Neptune, and just so that you're aware of the little things that are associated with Neptune. So we started this new 13-year cycle on April 12th, and on this full moon, this energy will be with us. They're still really close, right? And oh, I forgot to mention, the most important thing associated with Pisces is the past. Pisces is the end of the zodiac. It's where we close out the past. Pisces is our subconscious mind, right? Pisces is a lot of subconscious energy. So this conjunction can be really powerful in closing out the past in a major way, because it's happening in Pisces, where we close out the past, where we end the zodiac, where the cycle comes to a close. And it might not be the past in your material world, right? It might just be the past in your subconscious mind, what you think about, all that sort of stuff. It can be in your material world. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it can be internal as well. So this is what this conjunction brought with it on April 12th, a new 13 or so year cycle associated with Neptune, and a major closing out of the past. So that's another thing that's going on this full moon. And I think I have mentioned pretty much everything. Yeah, I've mentioned pretty much everything. So I'll just sum it up real quick once, and then I'll pull a few cards. So the first thing is that this moon is squaring Pluto, right? So we might be asked to transform spiritually, perhaps heal, release, end something, begin something, transform. That's Pluto. Dig deep, soul search to find answers. And since this is in a trine to Saturn, we might reach some decisions, we might make some commitments, we might set things in stone, we might define things, we might be willing to work hard at something. Saturn, right? And these are the two important aspects. There might be insights, there might be realizations, there might be sudden unexpected communication, there might be sudden unexpected changes to Mercury things, health, lifestyle, job, routine, immediate environment, day-to-day, etc., right? And this conjunction is still really close. It's not even a 1-degree orb. So we'll be feeling this, and this conjunction begins a new 13-year cycle. And this conjunction will help us close out the past. It's a very spiritual energy. It's a very creative energy. Magnified creative, magnified spiritual energy. So we can use that, right? We can use that. And Neptune and Pisces is also associated with meditation, meditative states, yoga, anything that helps you connect, right? It could be anything for you. So whatever that is for you that helps you connect with the higher realms, that is, in my opinion, Pisces, right? So all this is happening, and Saturn did square the nodes this week on Monday. Now it's easing off, so that restrictive element that I've been speaking about might just start to ease off this week, although the orb still is quite close. So slowly it'll start moving on. And that's the moon in a nutshell. And the next moon we are going to have is a new moon on April 30th, I think. Yeah, April 30th. And that's going to be an eclipse. So we are entering that zone of eclipses, and eclipses, generally speaking, are fated events, karmic events. So the next moon will be an eclipse. I just thought I'd give you a heads up. And now I will pull a few cards for this moon. So let's get started with this deck. Something flipped. Focus. And I think this moon is asking us to focus on maybe our relationships, maybe our projects. And I think we've got this card because Saturn here is aspecting the moon, right? And Saturn is the planet that demands hard work and decisions and commitments, and for all those things we need focus, right? We need to really focus. So this is that card. Let's pick a few more. Miracles. And there is some positivity associated with this moon. Perhaps the fact that Jupiter and Neptune are conjuncting, and Jupiter is a benefic, right? It's a benefic. So maybe this is saying that if we focus, if we keep our focus, really anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. Let's do that again. Never-ending story, and I pulled this card after quite some time. So never-ending story is something that you're unable to finish, right? And you can see this. She looks fed up, right? She looks totally fed up. Yes, no, it says right here. And the heart. And Pluto is what? It's that ending. And Libra is what? It's weighing things out. Yes, no, pros, cons, should I, shouldn't I? So perhaps what this card is trying to tell us is that weighing things out is great, right? Do that, Libra. But Pluto is aspecting this moon, and that brings total transformation. That brings with it an ending or a beginning, and Saturn is aspecting that moon, and that brings decisions. So perhaps a message about taking that decision to end or begin something that you've been thinking about or pondering upon, right? And this need not be something very big, right? It could be something like an emotion that you keep going through, or a thought process, right? A negative pattern of thinking, perhaps. I don't know. It could be anything like that. It could be an internal thing. It need not be a very drastic, dramatic change in your life. It can be very subtle. It can be an emotion. It can be a thought. It can be a habit, right? So what is that thing? What is that thing that's not good for you and that perhaps is best off ended? Or if it's something good for you, then maybe starting it might be good for you. I don't know, but that's your call. But there's that message. Let's see what lesson comes through. Let's do that again. Discipline. I don't think I've ever pulled this card. I can accomplish what I set my mind to, and this is Saturn, right? Saturn says persevere, work hard, and you will achieve your goal. And that comes with discipline, right? And perseverance. So a message coming through that don't lose your focus, be disciplined, and good things, positive things can happen. And don't be afraid, right? If you've been thinking a lot about something, maybe don't be afraid to dig a little bit deeper and find that answer. What is it that you want, or what is it that you don't want, or what is it that you need to end or begin? And yes, I do think, how we use the energy is extremely important. We do have that choice of using the energy in a positive way or whatever it is. But I feel like sometimes, the clarity just comes with time. So maybe this is saying that with this time, with the full moon, maybe some clarity will come. And generally speaking, right, full moons bring clarity also, because a full moon is the brightest night of the month. Think about it. It's the brightest night. It's where you can go out and see things clearly. So in that sense, it really helps us see things clearly. So maybe what this card is also trying to say is that maybe you will be able to see something more clearly that we've been a little confused about. And this is associated with Pisces also. We are closing out the past in a major way. So perhaps something associated with all these aspects. And this card is definitely Saturn, right? Saturn is the planet of perseverance. It's the planet of doing the same thing for the long run and achieving your goals. Usually, at least me, I used to fear Saturn, right? Oh my God, Saturn's aspecting this in my chart. Oh my God, Saturn's conjuncting my sun. Or I just went through my Saturn returns. But Saturn is also the planet that in many ways sets that part of your life in order, right? It may not feel the best, but that's what it does. It sets that part of your life in order. And I have seen that with myself, that's what Saturn has done for me. And yeah, I know it's not the easiest thing to go through, but in the end, it just makes things, it just sets things in order for that particular house in your chart. So, and Saturn is also, it rules Capricorn, right? Saturn rules Capricorn, the highest point in the chart. So with Saturn, with perseverance, with discipline, with hard work, the rewards usually come, because Saturn is the one that delays things, yes, but it's also the one that rewards in a major way. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. So I'll show you the cards once more. A lot of energy about being disciplined and and focusing on your path, right? On your journey or whatever it is for you. And perhaps a message coming through about something closing out, or whatever it is, a thought pattern or an emotion. This might be associated with Pisces and closing out the past. It could be Pluto and the end of something or the beginning of something. And there's some silver lining, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.